Hey y'all, it's Trey here, coming to you in my finest suit for a reason. I'm letting you know that this Saturday, April 26th, I'm excited to be joining a host of incredible comedians for an online pay-per-view special called Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's our take on what it might have been like if we were allowed to do one this year, all right? So that's what we're giving to you this Saturday, online only. Check it out, $20.26, link in the description. You ain't going to believe this lineup of great comics. It's going to be a good show.
By the way, you retweeted something I've been referring to. El Salvador is the new Poland. Thank you.
Yeah.
Read a book, for God's sakes, right? Like, the original concentration camps weren't in Germany. They were somewhere outside of the purview of German law. That's exactly what this is, right?
Absolutely. If you guys can, go onto my Substack, become a subscriber on my Substack. I did a video with 11 films. And this is for 45 minutes. And I mean, you want to talk about blue. All right, we're so blue, we're purpler. This thing, I used to think that I was an F-bombardier. Now I just think I harvest it like soybean. So we talk so much. And the one thing that cropped up was a statement that was made by Tara Stepmeyer about not failing to understand or lose the imagination of what these people are capable of.
Yeah.
We need to understand they are Nazi-level capable.
Speaking of which,
El Salvador has become the new Poland. They're shipping them off to a country that you can't see, you can't control. We don't know what's happening there.
So speaking of which, Rachel Maddow, national treasure, I think is leaving next week from her Every Night. I mean, not her Monday show, but the Every Night show.
100 days, yeah.
Yeah, and Malcolm, I gotta say, she is invaluable in that, somebody had tweeted last night's whistleblower segment on Rachel Maddow. This is the, Russian data thing. Made me think, they definitely hacked the election. Whistleblower Daniel Baroulis just exposed something terrifying. Foreign enemies allegedly stole U.S. data, and the leak, it came through Elon Musk's Starlink. I keep saying to you, I just don't think the last shoe has dropped here. And thank God Rachel did it, because then CNN picked it up and NPR, right? Because I still am like, what's going on with this story, Malcolm? Seems like a big deal.
The guy saw that Elon Musk had his minions connect the National Labor Relations Board information computer to Starlink. Within 15 minutes of connecting it, Russian identified hackers had the proper usernames and the proper passwords, which means that they had already cracked Starlink. They had already cracked Elon Musk's Dogettes, whatever you want to call those Doge minions of his, and that they were now attempting to get into any place. We have to assume every U.S. government computer that they have connected to is now compromised. That this guy came in and said, whoa, our safeguards stop foreign intrusion, and they detected it, and then what did the Doge people do? Told everyone to sort of ignore it. We may find this is I've said it before, this may be now the greatest act of espionage in history, because Elon Musk is working for money, not for America.
Well, and by the way, it was in your first book about Paul Manafort. Trump and Putin are interfering in elections around the world, including Romania, where they just annulled the election because of it. So I can understand people's suspicions about, and I think it's critical, Malcolm, not just because of 2024, but what about 2026 and 28, right?
Look, we've got bigger problems before 2026. You guys know that I'm all about the Second American Revolution, right? We need a blue people power revolution. If we don't really get out on the streets every week, there's a protest every week now.
Yep.
There's a Tesla Tuesday all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, you guys can get out and do something every week. But I want to call attention to this fact. There were 76 million Kamala Harris voters. Yeah. The largest protest we had was 5 million people. You need to encourage any individual who voted for Harris or against Trump or who didn't come out to come to these protests. We may not make it to 2026 until people power hits the street and literally we get Why do we not have 35 million people protesting simultaneously in this country? That's just half of the Harris voters.
I go back and forth. You retweeted our friend Stephen Beschloss, a journalist who we had on yesterday, Malcolm, and he said, just keep in mind the day will come when America is no longer held hostage by a sociopath, a convicted felon, an arsonist, and a vengeful, narcissistic sadist who revels in the pain and suffering of others and builds his fortune on the ruins of public liberty. May it come soon. I go back and forth between optimism and people saying, like, I don't know how long it's going to take to repair our relationships with our allies. Whether we're ever going to be able to get trade deals again, whether anyone is ever going to trust us again, and how lasting this damage to America is going to be.
Look, I'm all about hope. I'm all about the optimism that we'll be able to repair this someday. Yeah. But we are now in the first 100 days of a grip of an actual dictatorship.
Yep.
We are. Everybody just call it what it is. And now I think that's great. Steve, I've been on his podcast. He's a great writer. But we need to focus on, as we say in the Navy, right? Your eyes in the boat. The thing that is right in front of you. Start rowing right now. Because if we keep going, well, maybe 2029 we'll have something to you. Yeah. This man is intent on staying in power. And now he has J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. They're all going to guarantee they stay in power. So unless we turn this table over, we're in trouble.
I just talked about someone speaking to the European Parliament saying we have to discuss another autocracy, the United States of America. She said, before I talk about Russia, I have to talk about another autocracy. I mean, this is what's happening to our reputation in the world.
Trump is weeks from ending Russia sanctions, weeks from siding with Russia openly. Steve Witkoff has already made statements to the effect that he's not there negotiating a war ceasefire with Russia. He's there negotiating financial treaties with Russia. You are going to suddenly wake up and find the United States has allied itself with modern Hitler.
Yeah.
And that, not in the United States, the Trump administration. And unless we really get out there and turn, like I said, turn the table over, they're going to keep going. And if you're waiting for the Democratic Party, they're not going to do anything because they're the opposition. And until we give them spine, until we give them their back, most Democratic politicians right now they didn't back Chris Van Hollen for going to El Salvador.
Right.
So we are the only people. Look,
several people did. Maxwell Frost, Robert Garcia. That's why we got to elevate and spotlight.
I can predict those people will do it.
Yeah.
Where are the other 205?
Yep. Nope. Right. Everybody. It's like you're right. It's what do you call it in the military? All hands on deck. In the Navy, all hands on deck.
All hands on deck. Battle stations. We're sinking.
Right.
Hey, I'm John Fugelsang, and this weekend is the political comedy pay-per-view event of the year, not the White House Correspondents' Dinner. A very special pay-per-view for Americans who aren't afraid of political comedy or facts. Over a dozen comics, pundits, and influencers giving very different mini White House Correspondents' addresses, including Hal Sparks, Elaine Boozler, Alonzo Bowden, Trey Crowder, the liberal redneck, Glenn Kirshner, Allison Gill of Mueller, She Wrote, Frangela, Brooklyn Dad Defiant, Chuck Nice of Star Talk, Dino Badala, JoJo from Jurors, and Frank Conniff of Mystery Science Theater 3000. Just added, Miss Stephanie Miller. Catch Not the White House Correspondents' Dinner live Saturday, April 26th, instead of that other thing, because when they silence the comedians, we get louder. Or stream it on demand for just $20.26, because that's a good number to think about. Meethook.live/not. It's going to be inspiring. It's going to be hilarious. It's going to be deeply offensive to exactly the right people. Meethook.live/not.